Why many Americans still feel bad about the economy despite strong data? Have you wondered why so many Americans worry about the economy despite good numbers? Join us as we explore the weird world of economic thinking. Despite good job growth and increasing stock markets, individuals are unhappy. What creates this disagreement between facts and perceptions? Is it the rising expense of living, stagnant earnings, or something deeper in people's lives? Prepare to learn about the complex American economy and why many individuals feel horrible about their finances even in good times. Are you ready to learn what happened? Record low unemployment is almost here. There is a strong job market. Healthy consumer spending is the main driver of the economy's growth. Additionally, the stock market is at all-time highs. Nonetheless, polls indicate that Americans detest the state of the economy. Additionally, President Joe Biden is aware of the public's agitation as he runs for re-election in November. Voters have been difficult for Biden to persuade that the economy is doing well or that he should be given any credit for his financial management. According to a Market Law School survey conducted in February, 35% of respondents nationwide described the economy as excellent or good, while 65% said it was not so good or poor. Prior to inquiring about whether their family has profited, a Monmouth University survey from February primed respondents with a number of indicators of a robust economy, such as lower unemployment, higher productivity, and a high Dow Jones average. Though attitudes remain gloomy, comparatively speaking, 64% of respondents claimed their family had profited not much or not at all from the economic upturn, while only 33% said their family had benefited a great deal or some. Regarding the economy, voters are more supportive of Donald Trump, who is running for president again, than they are of Joe Biden. In a nationwide survey conducted by CBS News in late February/early March, nearly two-thirds of participants stated that the economy was doing well under Trump, while 39% said the same of the current economy under Biden. Why do Americans feel so pessimistic about a robust economy? It appears that ideological prejudices, self-reinforcing doomsday loops of media coverage, and high interest rates are erasing every other metric for the typical American. In summer 2022, year-over-year inflation reached a four-decade high at almost 9%. In recent months, it has decreased to roughly 3%, getting closer to the Federal Reserve's 2% target. Most economists believe that supply chain issues that arose during the epidemic are to blame for the peak in inflation, and that Biden's recently passed fiscal stimulus bill made matters worse. In a lecture at Duke University in November, Federal Reserve Board member Lisa Cook stated that Americans want these prices to be back where they were before the pandemic. The issue is that inflation doesn't behave that way by nature. Prices do not decrease when inflation slows, as it has been doing for the past 1.5 years. Instead, prices rise more gradually, giving wage increases time to catch up. On Biden's watch, food prices have increased by 20% as observed by Americans. Prices are especially important because most people shop for groceries once a week. Political scientist A. Lee Hanna of Wright State University, who has written about how consumers perceive the economy, told PolitiFact, "A weekly journey to the petrol station is another tradition." Despite a significant decline from their summer 2022 peak, gas prices are still roughly 30% higher than when Biden assumed office. Two established indicators of consumer confidence show how inflation has a distinct effect on how people feel about the economy. One survey is produced by the University of Michigan. The rating under Biden is still lower than it was for 4 of the last 5 presidents at the same stage in their terms, despite the fact that this monthly statistic has improved over the past year. The survey's consumer sentiment score dropped from April 2020 to December 2023 for more than 2 years. This is a stunning discovery considering that in April 2020 the jobless rate was 13.2% and Americans were dealing with the uncertainties of a once-in-a-century pandemic. Another monthly consumer confidence poll is carried out by the corporate membership and research organization Conference Board. Based on this measure, consumer confidence is stronger currently than it was at this stage of their terms under 3 of the 4 prior presidents. The Conference Board's assessment tends to reflect labor market conditions, such as the current low unemployment rate and rapid job growth, whereas the University of Michigan poll is more sensitive to inflation. Raising interest rates is the government's main solution to inflation, but this is giving consumers another kind of pain. The Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes, which have mainly been successful in lowering inflation, but also raised credit card and mortgage rates, which has put pressure on borrowers and first-time homeowners in particular. Hanna stated that although a considerable portion of Americans are gainfully employed, have seen their wages rise, and are enjoying cheaper gas, they remain pessimistic because some of these larger purchases like homes or cars seem unattainable right now. Different people have different experiences with the economy. Biden's problem is made worse by the fact that wages haven't increased at the same rate as prices, even after accounting for inflation. Inflation-adjusted earnings should soon return to their pre-Biden purchasing power based on current trends. Nevertheless, this indicates that under Biden, Americans have felt as though they have been slipping behind on costs for a full 3 years. Low-paid Americans are the most affected by this since they spend a larger portion of their income on necessities like food, gas, and other items whose costs have been impacted most by inflation. Some Americans may feel less fortunate due to the federal student loan repayment program starting in late 2023, according to economists. Sasha Indart, an assistant professor of finance at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, stated, "Consumers' income growth has finally started to offset inflation, but while the trend is good, there's still a bit of ground to cover for people's purchasing power to get back its longer-run trend." The economy has been portrayed negatively by the media more and more. Economists claim that a lot of Americans have misconceptions because they pay little attention to broad economic information. About 6 out of 10 respondents to a December Bankrate survey claimed that the U.S. economy was in a recession, despite the fact that no recession had been officially declared. Despite the fact that earnings have increased more slowly than prices over the past year, 90% of respondents to a Financial Times survey claimed this to be the case. The message isn't being received, according to Aaron Sojourner, a senior researcher at the W.E. Upjohn Institute for Employment Research, even if news organizations are making an effort to dispel these myths. Sojourner and a co-author analyzed in January using a San Francisco Federal Reserve database that assigns a tone of positivity or negativity to economic news coverage. According to the data, since 2018, there has been a noticeable increase in negative coverage of economic news, with a growing detachment from economic realities. According to Sojourner, there was a growing divide around that time between those who thought the local economy was good or excellent, and those who thought the same about the U.S. economy. This provides some evidence that negative news sentiment plays a role because people rely more on news to understand the national economy than their local economy or their personal finances, Sojourner said PolitiFact. One example of a mismatch in the media is the fact that, according to Dean Baker, co-founder of the Liberal Center for Economic and Policy Research, the rate of young people who own a property has increased since 2016. This is in contrast to other recent headlines that depict young people as having given up on ever owning a home. Baker said that additional economic benefits have gone unnoticed in recent news reports. Almost no attention has been paid to the 17 million more people who are able to work from home, saving hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars in transportation costs, Baker continued. Workplace satisfaction surveys are nearly unknown despite their record high results. Americans' opinions of the economy are becoming more and more influenced by partisanship. Survey responses are more and more influenced by political views. Compared to 38% of Democrats who said they hadn't benefited much from the economy, 83% of Republicans in the February Monmouth poll said they had benefited not much or not at all. Nearly as many independents as Republicans expressed disapproval, with 72% claiming they had not gained much. With merely a shift in political party, these opinions can change without any alteration to the underlying economic conditions. When the party in power of the White House changed, Republican attitude increased while Democratic sentiment plunged between November 2016 and January 2017, and vice versa in 2020 to 2021, according to Joanne W. Shu, director of consumer surveys at the University of Michigan, who wrote about the results of her study. Beyond financial measures, the world is roiled by conflict due to the wars in the Middle East and Ukraine, and the United States is divided by culture war disputes, all fueled by an endless stream of divisive discourse on social media. If opinions of the economy remain unchanged in the wake of all of this, it would be shocking. However, if poor is the American public's baseline understanding of the economy, when things are going well, we're going to need some new terminology to describe what's going to happen when another recession strikes, which is inevitable, as Yahoo Finance senior columnist Rick Newman wrote in March. Subscribe now to delve deeper into the factors shaping our financial landscape and join the conversation on how we can bridge the gap between economic data and everyday experiences.